Welcome to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. Here are your hosts, DJ Marcotte and John Soroyce. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. John promised me that he was going to do the intro for today's show, so take it away, John.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. Today we are going to do QB rankings 1 through 12.
Is that all you got?
For right now, yes.
That was terrible. So welcome to the Working Class Podcast, the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. We are your armchair experts. I'm DJ.
And I'm John Soroyce.
And we are ready to talk about quarterbacks, the most important position in the game, as they say, John. We're going to... You're supposed to jump in there, dude.
I apologize.
All right, well, jump in. Give me your opinion. This is what this is all about.
My opinion.
We talk about our
QBs
opinions.
are necessary points in the game.
Yeah.
Especially fantasy football. A person like Patrick Mahomes can make or break your season. In most cases, he made everyone's season
Patrick
last year.
Mahomey, as I like to call him, because he's my homie, and he led me to a championship last year. And then I traded him to some schmuck that gave me way too much.
And I traded him, who got Saquon Barkley out of it, so I'm pretty happy.
Not too bad.
With
So,
that.
yeah, we talked about the Saquon Barkley, however you want to say it, is your prerogative. We talked about that trade that you had going in a recent episode. You were looking to take him down, and you were offering up Pat Mahomes. And I told you to drink the cough medicine. Did you drink the cough medicine?
Oh, I drank the bad store brand cough medicine, and it tasted good.
Equate cough medicine. Is that the Walmart the Great Value?
Yeah,
cough
the Great
medicine?
Value cough medicine. Honestly, I think toilet water probably would have tasted better.
But you got the guy you wanted.
Saquon Barkley out of it. So I'm
then
happy.
Me being the guy that I am, I noticed that John was pretty hurting on picks, so I swooped in and gave him a third and a fifth to trade up into the second round to get my second round pick. Whenever a trade happens, I'm always lurking in the shadows, ready to take advantage, right, John?
He's only got 77 second round picks, but it's all good. He'll be done by drafting by round 3.
I will be dominating again this year because I always set myself up for success. Much like our quarterbacks have set themselves up for success, hopefully this year. And like we said last time, we're going by expert consensus rankings. But I'm talking like you today, John. Jeez. Sorry.
Oh, wow. Wow, don't even know how to even comment on that one.
So,
but I've come from the well, and hopefully I sound coming good out of the well. So.
Yeah, the well, the ring. So, expert consensus rankings, basically a compilation of all the rankings from various experts to spit out one set of rankings.
An average,
an industry standard, so to speak. So we're going to go one by one through those, and then just like last time, in the last episode, John, we're going to comment on where we had those guys ranked, and then just speak to those individual players as we go through. So I give you 2 guesses, and the first one doesn't count on who the ECR's number 1 ranked quarterback is.
the first one doesn't count?
You never heard that before? 2 guesses and the first one doesn't count.
Well, I get
it
that.
basically means it's so obvious that you don't need the second one.
The first one is obvious. If no one picks him, then it's kind of wrong. Let me guess. Patrick Mahomes.
Yes. That would be. I tried to lob that up there for you. You never heard that before? I'll give you 2 guesses and the first one doesn't count.
No, not really.
Oh, wow.
Maybe I'm oblivious.
Got to get you a book of Proverbs or something. Is that a proverb? I don't know. Anyway, it is obviously Pat Mahomes. I don't know. I'm obviously a big Seinfeld guy for anybody that knows me. And with Mahomes, he has what I like to call the undeniable Kavorka, the lure of the animal. Pat Mahomes has the it factor, the ultimate it factor. I saw Pat Mahomes execute a no-look pass in football. That's unheard of. No-look pass.
It was unheard of, but I think that was with the weapons he had. It's a totally different game this year. You say it's the it factor last year. I think this year is the shh
I don't know if that's well. Let's go through his numbers real quick.
I'm not
year.
saying he's not going to have a decent year. I just don't think there's definitely regression.
Well, let's go through his numbers last year. His incredible numbers last year: 5,097 yards passing, 50, not 15, 50 touchdowns, 272 rushing yards, which is less than I thought, and 2 rushing touchdowns, which is also less than I thought. But I mean, who's complaining with that stat line? I think what you're trying to say, though, John, is he's probably going to regress. He had an 8.1 touchdown percentage, which is really, really high. I think Tom Brady's career average is between 5 and 6. I think Manning's is right around there, too. Peyton Manning, that is. But I think you could see an increase. Like I said, only 2 rushing touchdowns. I think you could see an increase there. My opinion, there's a lot of variables. You got a potential Tyreek Hill suspension or all-around banning from the league. But the team did draft Mecole Hardman as insurance, very similar type of player. And some experts actually say that Hardman is more polished as a rookie than Hill was. But he's still got great passing weapons. I mean, he's got Damian Williams. Don't forget about Sammy Watkins and obviously Travis Kelce. And like I said, he's got the undeniable Kavorka. When I watch the guy play, he just makes it happen. You know, he's a born winner, and he makes plays happen long after they should be completely dead. The guy's a special talent. He's got a cannon arm. He can run. He's magical. But I don't think he's going to duplicate 2018. But I still think he's number 1 with a bullet. But just to put in perspective, I did have Mahomes ranked number 1 overall. And, John, you actually had him ranked 4th.
Yeah.
Explain yourself.
Explain myself is if Tyreek is out of the equation, you have Andy Reid. I'm not saying the guy is a genius. I mean, but he can't seem to clinch it at the end.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter in fantasy.
But here's my perspective of his fantasy value. You're going to lose your number 1 wideout. And that's a big hit.
Probably.
Those are big shoes for Hardman to fill.
But what about the next man up mentality?
Next man up?
Yeah.
Watkins. Has he ever stayed truly healthy through 16 games?
Yeah.
So there's the big question mark there. I know we're not supposed to use the injury aspect, but the biggest shiner could be Demarcus Robinson.
Yeah.
I mean, he is there. I mean, he could succeed, but wait and see. My opinion, I just don't think they're going to get that ball rolling because teams are going to focus, like I said before, double teaming Kelce. Not saying Kelce's not going to break those double teams. I think they're going to be able to pinpoint where they're going more.
Yeah.
The biggest factor I think will open up Mahomes more is going to be how Damian Williams in the run game. If he plays anything like he did last year.
Well, don't forget Hyde's there too, and Hyde is not a scrub. I mean, I know last year was kind of a wash for him because I don't think they really used him right in Cleveland.
He got traded, week 5?
And then he went to Jacksonville, and they didn't know what they were. I mean, that was just
I don't
a
even
mess.
know why they got him.
I
think it was more.
That was just the weirdest trade I've ever seen, I think.
I think they just got him as a backup for basically Leonard Fournette because of his health issues.
But we've seen Hyde be really productive in the past too. So I think he's a great addition to the team. For me, I look at it and I say, will he regress? Yes, I do think Mahomes will regress. If he doesn't, he's probably the greatest quarterback of all time. You know what I mean? Like if you duplicate a season like that,
there's not many quarterbacks that ever replicate the season they have. Is there a little bit of consistency, like an Aaron Rodgers had multiple high, seasons of 30 touchdowns passing? Yeah, but to do that 50 number again?
But I do see him 35 to 40 touchdowns. And guess what, dude? That's probably the quarterback 1 again.
Yeah,
if you're throwing 35.
I'm saying
I do see 5,000 passing yards. You know what I mean? I see an uptick potentially in rushing yards, given that Tyreek Hill, who does a lot of his work out of the backfield, I think you would agree. That absence might cause him to have to move on his feet a little bit more. So is he going to break records like last year? I don't think so.
Probably not.
But with that being said, ranking these guys is all about, is he going to be better than the rest of the competition at the quarterback level? I just don't see him anybody knocking him off the throne this year.
It could be close. I mean, the only other thing that ties up a team, you know, and I know, is it's the unsung heroes on the line.
Yep.
If that line pays any type of injury or, it, you know, like takes its blows in camps or preseason, like if they lose 2 starting linemen, it's going to make a difference. Mahomes will run for his life. Can he make things happen? Yes, but he could also get popped and be out. I mean, a.k.a. RG3 when he took that nasty hit. I mean, it could happen. I'm not saying I want it to happen. It could happen. But, I mean, those aren't things you can predict. Based on his numbers, yeah, there'll be pure regression from last year. But he will be in that 30 to 40 range no matter what. But I would like to see him use his legs more. So he has that upside of getting 45 possibly.
So, I mean, just to keep going on Mahomes, because I think we do need to spend a significant amount of time on him, because he is a guy that people are reaching into. I mean, I had somebody tell me they did a draft or a mock draft, and he was selected in the first round. That's a little crazy to me, but
no. But
so for you personally, I just traded this guy to you in January, and now you're selling him, and you literally are selling him. So what changed from then to now? Is it just the Tyreek Hill thing?
I think it's the Tyreek thing. It changes the dynamics of that offense totally for me. That's why I think he lost a lot of value. Not to mention the reason why I lost value. I'm sorry. Mahomes or Barkley, I'm going to take Barkley all day.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Barkley is just getting started. I know Mahomes is too, but Barkley is the focal point as well as Mahomes, but I'm bigger on Barkley.
So one thing for me and where I do see the regression is Mahomes actually has the 6th toughest schedule this year. So I think that is something really to take into consideration as well. But again, I think we both have good points and counterpoints about what Mahomes is going to do this year. I personally think it's not going to regress to the degree where he's not the number 1 overall quarterback. You think that a few guys might surpass him, so it'll be interesting. It'll be fun to watch and interesting to see how it all shakes out. That's for sure.
I think I already know who's going to pass him, and I guarantee I know.
Well, we'll talk about him, and I love that guy too.
Yeah.
I don't want to oversell
that's
him.
That's who I think will.
Yeah.
But we'll get to him in a little bit.
So I agree with ECR on the first one. I also agree with ECR on the second quarterback, Andrew Luck, and you have Luck ranked 5th. So I'm going to let you, before I kind of talk about my thoughts on him, I'll let you explain yourself on Luck as well. I know you like Andrew Luck too, so that was an interesting
I had Andrew
spot.
Luck last year. I think his numbers will be a slight regression. And the reason I say that, more weapons, they're going to utilize that run game more. There was times last year they did utilize the run game as much as they could, but they also started dumping passes. I'm not saying he's not going to utilize the backs that way. I think they run the ball more.
Yeah. And
I think because of running the ball more, there's going to be less throwing. There's going to be more goal line carries, which in return, you're going to see less passing touchdowns.
And Luck had 0 rushing touchdowns last year.
Exactly. Went to Marlon Mack, Naheem Hines. I mean,
he doesn't even do the Tom Brady QB sneak. You know what I mean?
Don't even blame him because of his surgery.
Yep. I mean, he had a great year. He had 4,590.
He was fantastic.
About 4,600.
Luck was his normal form.
39 touchdowns.
I believe, if I remember right, I got him 12th round, I think. I got him so late last year. He surpassed value.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of injury concerns there. But anyway, 39 touchdowns is great. That's phenomenal. Honestly, for me, I think he's going to be right in line with around 40 touchdowns again this year. It's already a potent offense, and you're getting Jack Doyle back, who, again, how long is he going to be out there before he's hurt?
But also taking consideration, they played a Jacksonville team that didn't have a give a damn, so they let up touchdowns at the end. You got to remember, they're starting off a new season, new slate. They may bring more to the table this time than they played them, because they didn't bring anything.
Well, that's one game. I mean,
it's 2 games.
It's 2, yeah, and they're probably going to be better, but I still don't see him regressing a whole heck of a lot.
No, I'm not saying major.
And the point I was trying to make was, you got Doyle back, Paris Campbell's in the mix too, and that guy's a dynamic player that you can line up anywhere on the field. He is going to catch, I think a lot of passes for a rookie at least, and he's one of those guys that is going to contribute in terms of yards after the catch. And then you also have Devin Funchess, who is another big target. So they've improved an already really good offense. So that's only going to benefit one guy, Andrew Luck.
Usually should.
And then you have Mack and Nyheim Hines.
And their line is solid. Come on.
And their line's good.
Quentin Nelson is an anchor for that offensive line for like the next 10 years.
Yep. And T.Y. and Ebron. I mean, it was funny because a few years ago, and I can't remember the GM's name, but this guy's completely turned around the landscape of this team. I mean...
What do you mean after he traded Irsay? Is it Irsay you're thinking of?
No, Irsay's the owner. It's the GM, and for whatever reason, his name is slipping my mind. But in any event, when he really started to take over the team, I mean, they had T.Y. and an old Reggie Wayne, and then the next year they had T.Y. And they didn't have a lot of depth, and he's really done a good job of building around Andrew Luck and beefing up that offensive line and stuff like that. So I don't see Andrew Luck slipping. Well, he wasn't number 2 last year. It was actually Matt Ryan, but I don't think Andrew Luck will slip beyond the number 2 spot. But I mean, there's a lot of this year. There's a lot of action at the top of the list, especially the top 4 or 5 guys. So we'll see. It could definitely shake up a lot during the season. But that's pretty much it on Luck. You got anything else on him? He's pretty self-explanatory.
I think he's just solid. He's a solid back. He's back to his old form.
Is he the type of guy, let me just ask you this. So Mahomes is the type of guy that I think people are going to not necessarily reach for, but typically I would never suggest that you draft a quarterback earlier than the 4th round. And for me, the 4th round is Pat Mahomes. And anybody other than him, I wouldn't draft early in the 5th round. Is Luck one of those guys that you would draft in the 4th or 5th? Or would you just say, I'd rather get one of those guys later?
Personally, my
opinion?
Yeah. Personally, no. I've never drafted a quarterback super early unless I think it was one, and I got him off waiver wire. Yeah. I think in one of the other drafts I did, it was Deshaun Watson.
I just want people to remember and think about the top 3 quarterbacks last year were Pat Mahomes, Matt Ryan, and Andrew Luck. And I'd be surprised if any of those guys were drafted earlier than the 8th round last year.
You can wait on a quarterback, guys.
Yeah, wait. Just sit and wait. So, number 3 ECR is Aaron Rodgers. I also have Rodgers at number 3, but I don't know. I've got a few things to say about him.
Is it his beer chugging skills?
No, it's not his beer chugging skills. I probably could beat him. I hope I could beat him at that.
If you can't, something's wrong because he's awful.
And you have Rodgers ranked 6. I'm just gonna start calling you Hot Takes Royce. So tell me about Rodgers at 6. New offense.
Rodgers has a big question mark around him. They have a run game they've never utilized enough, which would help open up the pass game. Tight ends are spotty at most there.
Yeah.
One game, next game gone. Their offense is all over the place. With McCarthy gone, will that help? It may, but there's that big question mark.
They got LaFleur in there, yeah.
There's no
the progressive offensive thinker.
It's no diss at LaFleur, but there's a different offense. We don't know how different it's going to be, and then you have those lingering questions behind Rodgers the last few years. I mean, his line has not been stellar. He's been running for his life. Injury has affected him. Is age catching up to him now that he starts to lose value? Or is this the year he regains back to his form?
I hate to say this, but I think you know how I feel about Odell Beckham. I think Aaron Rodgers has a little Odell Beckham in him. I think there were a lot of situations last year where he could have played a lot better than he did. I just don't think he wanted to. You know what I mean? I think there was an element of running McCarthy out of town. He had 4,442 yards, 25 touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers. That's unacceptable. And he had two rushing touchdowns. But
remember, he was playing in pain in a couple of those games, and he shouldn't have
played. But he's always playing in pain.
I get that.
It's like, come on, bro.
I get that, but he also turned into Jay Cutler a couple of games. His damn broke, and I get why. I get why. I can totally see why. You got McCarthy. You get sick. I'm not saying he was sick of McCarthy, but some of the play calling and then just some of the...
But he's also getting paid an awful lot of money to do a job. And I just, with Rodgers, I've had Rodgers a couple of times. I drafted him twice. The first time I drafted him, he was out for the year. And the second time I drafted him, he was completely disappointing. He hasn't been... Look it up, bro. He hasn't been fantasy relevant in a couple of years. So I have him ranked at 3, so I'm kind of beating him up, but I have him ranked at 3.
But yet I'm getting crapped on for ranking him 6th if he hasn't done
No,
anything in years.
but that's my point. Like, I can see where you're coming from, but expert consensus ranking and a lot of fantasy players won't.
So let's go by last year. Last year 25 touchdowns. The year before an injury.
Yep.
He played 7 games. He had 16 touchdowns. Okay, let's go back to that year before. He had 40 touchdowns.
Yep.
A good year. Now we look the year before that. 31 touchdowns.
Yep.
In 2015. 2014, 38 touchdowns.
Yep.
So,
But what did I say? He hasn't been fantasy relevant in a couple of years, and he hasn't.
yeah.
He really hasn't.
Well, that's one reason I have him ranked low. If you look at his numbers, 2014, 15, and 16 were all good years.
Yeah.
But it's been 2 years. I don't care if it's injury or not.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he has not been worth his ADP, which is average draft position. If you
Not to
guys are
mention
wondering,
the amount of hits he took last year, 49 sacks.
yeah,
If he keeps taking
Yeah,
beatings
that's a
like
lot.
that, that's a
Yeah.
lot. That's
Yeah.
quite a bit. And I mean, the offensive line doesn't look like it got much better.
he's got a dude on that offensive line that can chug
Here's
beer.
a thought. If you run the ball, it takes the defense away from the quarterback. Wait a minute. We're in Green Bay. They don't run the ball.
But hold on. But what you're saying is the sins of the father should be the sins of the son should be punished by the sins of the father. And in this case, LaFleur is McCarthy's son. He's taken over. So you can't assess what's going to happen this year based on Mike McCarthy's outdated offense that he ran year after year after year. So I think, and that's why I kind of have him ranked up in that top 5 again in that mix at number 3, is because I think the new offense under LaFleur should be more creative.
It should.
I think he's also got a really underrated wide receiver core. I think, obviously, Devontae Adams is...
Adams is the best receiver on the team, hands down. And
Yep, just let me finish here. So Adams is potentially the number 1 receiver. You're very passionate about Rodgers, I can tell. And then
I do like him. I don't want you to think I hate him.
Geronimo Allison does not get the credit for the steady, trustworthy receiver that he is, and he proved that until he got hurt last year. And then you get the young guys like MVS and Equanimeous St. Brown, who I like a lot from a talent standpoint. Not to mention Aaron Jones has shown that he's very talented as a running back. And we always forget Jimmy Graham, who, he's kind of like Gronk. He's a little bit of the Tin Man out there. He's a shell of his former self, but he's a red zone target. So if LaFleur, like he says, wants to get a little bit more creative with the offense, I think in a motivated Aaron Rodgers, which who knows if that's going to happen, they could lose a few games and he pouts again. But the perfect storm has him at number 3 for me, and maybe even number 1.
But you can see why I rank
Oh,
him.
yeah, no doubt. Yeah, all he has to do is get sad, and maybe they run the ball on the goal line.
He goes 0-3, his numbers will decline. You know that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's not the chance.
Yeah, no,
to come back.
he'll get all pouty and stuff like that. He's Odell Beckham, but a quarterback. Honestly, that's really what I think of him.
It's a pretty good comparison, actually. Never thought of it that way.
So, and I used to love Rodgers. He's been so disappointing, but I rank him at number 3 because he's Aaron Rodgers and I know what he's capable of. If that makes sense.
No, the man is actually faster than he looks. He utilizes his feet. He's good at these. I have a lot of respect for him as it relates to his feet. He shows it more than he
oh yeah, he can run too. Yeah, I mean, he didn't really have a ton last year for in terms of rushing yards. I think he was under 300, but I mean, it's a quarterback, so they're not all 269 rushing yards. They're not all going to be Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, but you can't blame him for not running anymore. Those hits he's taken has been vicious.
I'm telling you, that team, and we watched it, and we'll put a bow on it by saying this, that team as a whole, and it wasn't just Rodgers, they gave up halfway through the season. You know what I mean? They just weren't invested, and I think, and we've seen it before with like Wade Phillips in Dallas and many other situations.
And that's that division's getting tougher, especially with the Bears. Bears' offense wasn't even like number 1 offense, but their defense was amazing, and look what they did.
Yeah.
I mean, even Aaron Rodgers had a hard time with them. Sorry, but when you have Khalil Mack running for you, I'd be running too.
But just to finish that thought, we've seen it time and time again. Wade Phillips, I think, who was the Jets coach last year? Todd
Bowles.
Todd Bowles. I mean, teams just say, we don't want you as our coach anymore. We're just going to fold right now. And hopefully LaFleur can inject some more intensity and creativity into that offense. And I think the all ships rise with the tide. So hopefully that helps all the players.
Remember, I'm pessimistic too. So.
Well, sometimes you are. It depends on who we're talking about.
Yeah, good point.
So I don't think either of us are pessimistic about this next guy.
If it's who I think it is,
you have him ranked number 1.
Boom.
Numero uno.
Boom.
I have him ranked. I'm right in line with ECR. Most of my list, honestly. But anyway, I don't want to spoil that. But I ranked Deshaun Watson number 4. As did ECR. You have him at number 1.
Number 1.
So it sounds like you're pretty jazzed about him. So I'll let you talk about
Deshaun Watson. We know what the man can do. I think last year was a little bit of Brady syndrome. He had a bad injury, and you didn't see the confidence from him till about playoff time. And if you remember right, playoff time was not a good time for them. But he started that late in the season. You could see the confidence building. That injury was nasty to him.
it was an ACL, right?
Yeah, ACL. Yeah. His knee altogether, but I mean he rehabbed and everything. I'm not saying that, but you always keep in the back of your mind, excuse me, injuries. I mean, you say they don't affect you, but deep down mentally, it affects every player differently.
Yeah, especially one of that.
We saw it in Brady. Now we're seeing it in Watson. Watson knows he has a lot riding on him, not only as a quarterback but as their leader. They look to him to lead the pack. I mean. What he did at Clemson, he led them. I think he's going to lead them this year. They have a lot of people coming back in terms of players that are going to make a huge impact on that team. The offensive line has gotten better. I mean, you still got old.
It's still a liability, though.
It's still a liability, but here's the thing. He is utilizing players. I mean, can you name their tight end from last year?
Yeah, Ryan Griffin.
They went through actually more than that, believe it or not.
Yeah. He punched a mirror, and now he's not on the team.
But
Can you name the tight end this year?
Off the top of my head, probably not.
Cahill Waring. You need to step your game up.
No. But here's the thing about Watson. You got Lamar.
We're not drafting either of those guys, for the record.
Lamar Miller. Dante Foreman's back, I hope.
Licorice Lamar. If you guys haven't heard, I compare Lamar Miller to Black Licorice because he's candy, so candy's good, but he's black licorice, so he's not really that good. And Deonta Foreman, is an interesting guy to watch this year.
And my boy Blue.
No, Blue is on a different team. He's on Jacksonville now.
I just wanted to say my boy Blue. It just sounded good. I know he's not on them. But you do have Will Fuller coming back.
Yeah.
You got Kiki, Do You Love Me?
Kiki QT. Yeah. So when I look at this team, I see a tale of two offenses, so to speak. I see the offense with the possibly, and I don't think this is a hot take, but possibly the best receiving corps in the league. If you look at just wide receivers, Kiki QT is a slot specialist. He's super fast. He's a chain mover. Will Fuller is stretch the field, take the top off the defense.
Oh, you mean the 6 catches for 8 touchdowns and magically gets 4 touchdowns and catches?
And then, obviously, DeAndre Hopkins is arguably the best receiver in the league. So you take that, and that's one. And then, of course, Deshaun Watson's just really darn good. It's not just his receivers.
Let's remember, Watson didn't run that much last year either.
But hear me out. So that's one side of the offense. The other side is his offensive line, which you say they beefed it up, and I'm not completely in agreement with you there.
It's better than it was last year. I'm not saying it's a huge upgrade.
Based on what, though?
What do you mean, based on what? They were young last year, so another year
does help. That's a leap of faith right there,
It's not a leap of faith, but guess what? They made the playoffs.
Yeah.
They were a young team last year.
Yeah, they had a good defense, too, though.
Yep, they're still a young team.
So, those are my concerns, though. Like, the biggest concern for me is the offensive line. And for a guy that he had ACL issues in college too, if I'm not mistaken, but he's not, and again, we don't project it, but he's not the most durable guy. And you just talked about with Aaron Rodgers, if he's getting sacked 40, 50 times a year, that's a little concerning. But hopefully they do progress in terms of an offensive line. For the record, I love Deshaun Watson. The guy can run. He's a great passer. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's got receivers that are compatible to his style of play. And for me, the sky's the limit for him. I just don't. I'm cautious of putting him at 1, just because when you look at who I have at 1, Mahomes, there's so many more advantages I think Mahomes has in comparison to Deshaun Watson.
So here's another reason why I love Deshaun. By strength
Trust
of
me,
schedule.
I love him.
I know some people don't use that. I do look at it.
Don't say this.
Some people don't look at that.
Don't let the. I guess we
I'm
have
not-
to.
I'm not gonna go-
I
I'm
don't
not-
want you to let the
I'm
cat.
not
No,
gonna-
you need to say it. We need
Okay.
to. We need to be
Here
here for
is
our
why
listeners.
Deshaun Watson is going to go high. He has the third
He does,
easiest schedule for a quarterback.
And that's
Let me
for a
repeat,
guy that.
the
Yeah.
third easiest
No,
schedule.
I
for
like
a
him, dude.
quarterback.
You're preaching to the choir on Watson. And I want him, but my problem is, again, we go back to, am I going to invest a 5th round pick in Deshaun Watson when I can get some of the guys that we're going to talk about a little bit later on for a much better price?
It all depends what team you're building.
So am I
going
gonna
to
get-
wrapped around it?
Am I going to get the brand new MacBook for, I don't know, $1,300? Or am I going to go get the refurbished one for $500?
If I know you, you're going to get the.
I'm probably
refurbished
getting the
one.
refurbished one.
I can say this. I did this last year, and at first I was skeptical, but it did pay off. In a 2-quarterback league we did, I did have Hopkins, I believe. I think I picked in the first round, DeAndre. And I did pick up Watson, I believe, in the 3rd round or 4th round.
That's different. That's a 2
Yeah.
QB league.
No, I get
Completely
that.
different
But
dynamic.
I took him a lot higher and quicker than I should. But why?
Yeah.
I wanted that stack.
But to counterpoint that, and I get the stack, I understand what you're saying there, but to counterpoint that, do you remember who I took in the 2nd round? Aaron Rodgers. And that did not benefit me. So it's
Yeah.
all depends on who you get, and there's a little luck involved.
Okay, so for those you don't know, for fantasy, stacking is having like the same quarterback. The
Yeah, it's
same
a cool
receiver.
strategy. Yeah, definitely.
I've loved that strategy. Some people use it, some people don't. But if Deshaun Watson throws a touchdown to DeAndre Hopkins, double points,
Yeah,
baby.
cha-ching.
And cha-ching. And if they're having a field day, which they've had before,
Yeah.
thank you, game over, 4 o'clock.
So I think I agree with you, but for me, if I'm stacking, I always look at, so like Will Fuller is a guy that, okay, I'm probably not going to get DeAndre Hopkins in this 1st round because 9 times out of 10 I'm going running back.
You can stack a 2nd wide receiver.
But you
He's
get a guy like
perfect example.
Fuller on those games that he caught 3 touchdowns,
Oh yeah, but boom.
explosion. So I love Deshaun
And
Watson.
then explosion game 9 when he blew out his ACL. down
But
the
those
air.
things happen. You just can't predict those things. But, I love Deshaun Watson. I'm with you on that. I think the top 4 here, John, is really tight and crunched together.
It's a tier 1. Is the best way to
it
put
is
it.
definitely the
After
top
that,
tier.
the tier drops off. And the thing that Deshaun Watson brings, just like actually more than Mahomes, I think he'll run more this year like he did his first year. And if he runs, he's lethal.
Yeah.
I mean, he can be lethal. Who would have thought his first year when they played Seattle? Everybody's like, oh, they're playing in the Legion of Boom, and he's done.
Yeah.
He lit them up.
Yeah.
That game was, I don't know if anybody saw that game.
Yeah.
But that game had you at the seat of the couch screaming because it was so intense.
It did, yeah.
Same with Russell Wilson.
And that's what's so fun about the sport and about fantasy football. So let's move on to number 5. That's Baker Mayfield. ECR ranked number 5. I have him also ranked number 5. Although I constantly change my thoughts on him. He makes me nervous. I'm not gonna lie. You had him ranked all the way down at number 9. So for me,
which I might move up. I'm a little skeptical right now because it's chemistry, and I know that sounds bad, but last year everybody was like, Jarvis Landry's going to Cleveland. Yeah, guess what? There was some chemistry issues there.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing. If anybody has seen anything with video from the Odell Beckham Baker Mayfield right now, there is some chemistry that's not there.
You obviously can't see me, but my eyes almost just rolled in the back of my head because if I had $1 for every time somebody looked great when they were practicing
No, I'm saying he did not look great.
Oh, he didn't? Okay.
Did not look great.
Well, I guess you got to take that with a grain of salt, too.
Throws were off. Now, this is more than one pass.
And if you know Odell, he's probably been just goofing around the whole offseason.
And we don't know that. That's what I'm saying. I'm skeptical. So
Right.
it affects the rankings, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. if he keeps throwing to Odell, what chemistry does that create with the others? How are the others going to be involved? We don't know their chemistry. The sad part is he was actually had a better chemistry with Callaway last year than he did Landry.
And Callaway's another knucklehead. But if you look at Mayfield's numbers last year, it's 3,725 yards passing, 27 touchdowns, 131 yards rushing, 0 rushing touchdowns. So you're looking at, I mean, he missed a few games there because I think obviously Tyrod was the starter at the time. But
he came in right at the half.
Yeah, right, it was like 2.5 games he missed. But
Tyrod with his Play-Doh hands in that half almost broken, I guess.
Yeah. But anyway, if he had played 16 games, he was on pace for 4,257 yards and 30 touchdowns. So as a rookie, that's pretty darn good. Obviously, the addition to Odell Beckham should greatly improve his upside, I would think. But I am looking at it in terms of, again, I want to kind of go back to Andrew Luck, and they've made some additions, and now they've just got so many options on the offense. So that sometimes hurts and cannibalizes each other, like the wide receivers or the running backs, but it always helps the quarterback. So, again, this is a tale of two sides for me with Mayfield. Odell Beckham, let's not forget Jarvis Landry is still the best slot receiver in the game, and I don't think it's close. And then you got Njoku's really talented at the tight end level. Antonio Callaway's really talented. Don't forget Duke Johnson, Nick Chubb. Don't forget Kareem Hunt's coming around the bend at some point. So Mayfield has, and of course Mayfield's just, like I said, he's got that swag, dude. He's got that Conor McGregor swag. So everything, and of course, and I'm going to pile on even more. Freddie Kitchens was doing a really good job of that offense, and now he's the head coach. So we got a progressive thinker, offensive mind. Everything is wheels up for Baker Mayfield. But is it too good to be true?
Sophomore slump, you think?
You know, and it's not even that. It's just, I think when there's, and it's kind of like, so I'm a big Celtics fan, and it's kind of like Stevens, their coach, when he was getting rave reviews, there were no expectations, there were no big egos, none of that stuff. It's easy to excel when nobody's watching. You know what I mean?
He didn't get enough.
Look at Ryan Leaf in college, and then now all the eyes were on him in the pros, and he was trash. And I don't think this is Ryan Leaf. I've got him ranked number 5, for God's sakes. I don't think that, but I do think that when nobody's watching, it's easy. But when the whole world is watching, it can definitely change things. And I think Mayfield's got every advantage to succeed, which is why I have him at 5. But at the same time, I'm just a little nervous. It's just a little bit of too good to be true. You know what I mean? And that's more of a gut instinct than anything else. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's my take on Baker. I don't know if you have anything more on him.
The kid's absolutely talented.
Yeah. I'm not sure what his strength of schedule is.
It's
you had that
bad. That's one reason why I ranked him a little lower.
Yeah.
He has, I believe, the 8th worst schedule for a quarterback. So he's in the bottom.
And that's going to be a challenge for him,
But you got to read into this, though, too. I'm looking at what? I think it said 24th, 25th strength of schedule. I think 24th, so don't quote me on this. But look at the game logs and stuff. Yeah, he's got to play the Ravens twice.
Yeah.
But if anybody looked at the game logs, that's what they're basing on. He's facing a top defense. He torched them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't look at the Ravens as a top defense anymore, and they lost a lot of key pieces,
No, but
too.
he torched them. That Week 17 game where they were trying to get in the playoffs, 376 passing yards.
Does he have like Mahomes, does he have the undeniable Kavorka?
Yes.
And if he does, he'll be fine.
And that was Week 17. And Week 5, he torched him again, too. Or before, I should say, for 342 yards. So here's the thing.
So with all that being said, why do you have him at 9 would be my question.
It's the chemistry, and I don't know if there's a sophomore slump. And I'm being honest with you. I don't know how it affects him.
Yeah. Should we also be talking about the fact that Odell is cancerous and can tear apart an offense from the inside out?
He can tear apart a team. Look what he did with the New York Giants.
I mean, the second he doesn't feel like he's getting targeted. What if Landry's open all the time and gets peppered with targets?
The only thing going
and Odell's beating up
the only thing going for him
posts.
there are they were teammates in LSU.
Yeah.
So I don't see that. But I can see if somebody else getting the ball, there might be some little bit of, like PO and stuff.
Yeah.
Being mad and stuff. But not with Landry. They're too good of friends. But I think Odell may be in a team that where he's not the focal point, it could affect him. I really do. I know deep down he wanted to come there.
Yeah.
But let's wait and see how it all plays out. You can have a great team on paper, but that doesn't mean you're going to the championship or winning the championship. That's the thing.
Yeah. So I'm going to let John talk about the Listener League for a second, and I'm going to take a break from you guys real quick. John, you got to get these people in on the Listener League, bro, so I'm going to let you sell that.
So we've had some people reach out to us about having a Listener League. Well, if you want to hang with the best, you got to challenge the best. So we have put it out there. We have already started a league. Just waiting for some of you to reach out to us and come and join us. So please email us, reach us on Twitter. I'm John2977 on Twitter. Go on our Facebook. Go on to our YouTube. Go on to iTunes. Make comments. Like to really see you guys compete with us up there. So or beat us. Show us what you got. So trying to get that Listener League going and everything. So let's get those reviews and let's get those comments out there so we can get you guys to join. Send us a comment. Send us what if you want us to join. We'll send you an invite. So right now I believe it's myself, DJ, and I think Wilson is in there.
Hey, Mr. Wilson.
So he's excited to join. We were talking about it the other day.
Sorry about that, guys. Don't drink a whole iced coffee before you do a podcast.
So we have Wilson in there. I don't know if the fourth person joined yet, but yes, it's going to be a 10-person league, I think.
Yeah, it'll be 10-person. I think either half point PPR or PPR. We just gotta kind of get some more people reaching out to us.
Yeah, Wilson 27. So we still got 7 spots
Wilson
open,
27.
guys. Let's bring it on. Let's get it going.
Yeah, man. I mean, where's Ralston? That guy. Guy laid down the gauntlet for the Listener League, and he's hiding in a corner somewhere. And we're here. We're waiting for you, bro. Come get some.
John Ralston or Mikey Ralston, also AKA known as.
If that is your real name.
Please reach out to us. I will send you a message in regards to the Listener League. You were the first one that requested, so I will send a message to you this week to reach out and accept the invite. And come and challenge the big boys.
Yeah, man. I would love to interact with any of you guys in terms of actually playing the game and actually duking it out in a fantasy football perspective / arena. So bring it on, guys, and bring on the feedback too. I mean, we actually had some more reviews on iTunes / Apple Podcasts, so greatly appreciated there. Just keep those good vibes coming, and if John did a bad job while I was away there, just let me know, and I'll handle that at a later time.
Wow.
I'm sure he did fine. But again, don't pound an Aroma Joe's iced coffee right before you do a podcast.
You know, some people are like, what is an Aroma Joe's coffee?
If you don't know, you don't know what you're missing.
It's good coffee. It's a good coffee drive-through, guys.
Yeah, you guys need to come up to New England, up to the Northeast, and just to have an Aroma Joe's. Yeah, no, I don't think anybody's going to do that. But,
no.
So we want to keep
lobster up here. Lobster's really good seafood.
It's overrated.
No,
it's like eating a bug, dude. Kind of like eating a bug.
It's. You know what? It's a preference thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, if people don't know, Maine is known for red hot dogs, too. And people are like, oh, what's a red hot dog?
Red snappers.
So, I'm not in the Moxie. I know some people.
The Moxie's a big thing in Maine.
Yep, Moxie's big in Maine.
We don't.
I'm not into
anybody that's ever seen Down East Dickerers, like, we don't talk like that. I don't know where that comes from.
Don't park far from here in Bath, Maine. There's some.
Yeah.
Hey, Helen, the moose is over there. Can you go get the moose?
Yeah, bud.
Yeah, bye. Yeah, guy.
Yeah, guy.
Let's go up to him.
That's way up in Maine.
Yeah, that's like Canada border almost.
Now that we've given you a geography lesson, let's continue on the QB rankings.
Number 6, right?
Number 6, ECR rank is Russell Wilson. Russellmania is running wild at number 6. I also have him at number 6. And John, you have him at number 3.
Might have went a little too high with that, but
maybe not.
Maybe not. He's always in the top.
He was number 1 2 years ago.
He's always in the top 5 the last few years. I mean, the guy's magical. But the downfall of Russell Wilson, I will say this: You can start off a half with 0 points.
Is it a downfall, though?
I don't call it downfall.
Only when you're going against him.
I think it's either when you're going against him or if you have him, because you're like, I have no points, and then boom, you have 47.
The magic of WrestleMania. Just WrestleMania runs wild in the fourth quarter. But, I mean, I don't think a great season for him last year. He had 3,448 yards passing. 35 touchdowns is really good. 376 rushing yards, 0 rushing touchdowns, which there's going to be positive regression there. That's not going to happen again. I can pretty much guarantee you that.
Yeah, but imagine, you put up 35 passing touchdowns with no rushing.
And he should get like at least 5 to 6 rushing touchdowns.
His average is about 3 a year.
Is it really? I would have expected more.
If you actually look at his rushing touchdowns, he's only had 2 years where he's been above 1. He doesn't... Yeah. He runs with his legs, but he's not.
Yeah, and those aren't prescribed rushes. His
second year in the league, he had 6 rushing touchdowns, which is phenomenal.
Yeah,
and he had
great.
Almost 1,000 yards rushing. But
that's crazy. And this year is 376.
So his upside is definitely there. But remember, he's older now. He's been in the league what?
Well, and you want to talk about? We give Aaron Rodgers. Everybody gives Aaron Rodgers the benefit of the doubt in terms he was banged up. Well, so was Russell Wilson last year.
But here's the thing: people haven't been looking at, and people take for the benefit of the doubt that. When Russell Wilson first started, you look at his first few seasons, and then he had that one bang-up year. 2015, he threw for 34 touchdowns.
Yeah, he had. Then 2017, I think he was number 1 in the league.
Yep, 2016, he dropped back down.
Yeah.
But now, if you look...
I think he was hurt that year, too.
No, 2016
Played
was
16
just a
games.
bad year.
Yeah.
But if you look at... He's still taking a lick. That's what you guys want to see. He's taking 40 to 50 sacks every year since he started in the league. So he's taking his licking, but here's the difference. You know he can run. He has that potential. Let's say he's older now. We don't expect him to run as much. I still think he's still got a high ceiling of 600 yards rushing with a low floor of 300. I would say low floor. And I think that's actually he could actually make it a little higher.
I mean, last year he didn't rush well, and he was 376.
So let's say 3 rushing touchdowns, a little higher than his average. So let's say 3.
Yep.
But his average passing touchdowns is about 35.
Yeah.
Between 30 and 35.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a guy getting 40 touchdowns.
His yards were way down, I think, last year, right?
His yards are not like... You're not going to see that stellar, 4,000 or 5,000. He's getting...
Yeah, but he lost 500 off the year before.
Yeah, but look at his touchdowns have improved through the years, though.
Yeah. I think I like Wilson a lot. And what I like most about Wilson is... we talked about Deshaun Watson and Baker Mayfield's going to get drafted. Just a quick touch on Mayfield. As much as I like him, I will never get him because he's going to be drafted way too early. And, the same might be said for Watson and Mahomes and Luck. Wilson at number 6, the advantage is Wilson could be number 1 or number 2, and you're going to get him in the 8th round. I don't know. What's his ADP at? Does it say there?
Hold on one second. ADP right here, 91.
So that's
overall.
Yeah, 8th, 9th round in that vicinity there, even 10th. So you're going to get him at such a value, and he could be a number 1 overall. So.
Yeah, and he's middle of the pack, strength of the schedule.
Yeah.
The thing I like about him, you look at his interceptions. He's not a high turnover guy as it relates to interceptions. Nope. Mostly single digits, all except for 2 seasons, which was 11, very low still for a quarterback. But here's the concerning part is when he runs the ball.
Yeah.
A lot of fumbles.
Yeah, that's not good. But
he's got just as many
he ain't
fumbles
getting benched,
per year.
that's for sure.
No, he's not going to get benched. But the guy has a lot of upside.
Yeah.
He can sit there and he can just blow up at any point. His only downfall with Doug Baldwin, but Doug Baldwin's gone last year.
So let me just touch on that because I think, yes, it's diminished a little bit, his wide receiver group, due to Baldwin being, he's done now. It's over. But he didn't have Baldwin last year either. And again, it wasn't his best year, but he didn't have Baldwin last year either. So, I mean, that's not something I'm too worried about. I think DK Metcalf, his abilities, his deep threat abilities, should be able to add an element to that offense that I think will create some versatility there.
If you guys can hear that in the back.
I don't think they can. They couldn't last time.
It's the DK Metcalf train.
Yes, this is my DK Metcalf hype train, but there is a train in the background.
I had to say it. I thought it fit the moment.
You guys didn't hear it last time, but maybe you'll hear it this time.
The DK Metcalf train.
John also, shockingly, hasn't tried to distract me with his phone yet either. But in any event, I think Metcalf's really going to help that offense. And help shape that into a more exciting offense. My only concern for Wilson is under Schottenheimer, it's a very run-heavy offense. I think you'll see positive regression in his passing yards, but I think there's a sort of low ceiling to that because Schottenheimer is so committed to the run. So that's my big concern with Wilson is how often are they really going to pass? But if they're down, they're going to need to, and he's got the Kavorka too. So
and they also got the double-headed running back monster there.
Yeah, he's got the Kavorka, unlike Marcus Mariota. But hopefully nobody's going to be screaming about not getting him in the draft this year. That's our one per show. So
keeps taking those stats.
Number 7 is Matty Ice, Matt Ryan. I also have Matty Ice ranked at number 7. Oh, we got the hat trick, John. You also have him at number 7 as well. So
for once we agree.
One of the things with Matty Ice is he's a bit of a roller coaster guy. We always used to talk about Doug Martin, the muscle hamster, being like every other year he was really good and every other year he was really bad. Matt Ryan has kind of taken that approach the last several years, but he's also got an old OC back in town, turd cutter as I like to call him, because he's a loser. But he's okay as an offensive coordinator. He's just a really bad head coach. But Dirk Cutter is back in town. The old sheriff's back in town, and Matt Ryan performed an MVP season under him. So I think, and obviously with Devonta Freeman back, I think you're looking at a guy that was the number 2 quarterback last year, and it was kind of by a lot. Like the gap between 2 and 3 was pretty big, and I think he's set up for success this year as well. Just to look at his numbers last year, 4,923 yards. It's almost 5,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. Just an excellent season. I think he might regress because they were so pass happy in 2018 because their rush game was not good. You know, they had Tevin Coleman, who had a bad season by all observations, and also they have Ito Smith, or as you like to call him for some reason, Ish Smith. He's not that great either.
Basketball player, I keep getting mixed up.
He was pretty bad too. So with Matt Ryan, I think he'll be very good. I just think I don't know. I don't see him as repeating last year's numbers, which were really, really good. What's your thoughts on Matty Ice?
Matty Ice is usually pretty consistent. I mean, he's had those years, but you got to remember, those years were affected by Julio Jones missing adequate time. I just think Calvin Ridley's...
He didn't last year, though. And like you said, he had a good year.
But he had a good year.
Yep.
But the years Julio has missed or had shortened seasons, look at Ryan's numbers. So we all know that...
So should Julio have got the MVP that year?
I love Julio.
Yeah, he's the man.
The thing with Julio, I think the thing you're going to notice now with Calvin Ridley there, I think it's going to take some pressure off of Julio. People last year tried to double cover Julio, and when they did, they kind of paid for it because Ridley exposed them.
Yep.
Ridley's got the raw talent to be good. We do know that. Sanu is still a possession receiver. He's a glitch guy, too. The guy used to play quarterback. I don't know if anybody knows that, but he can throw the ball, so you have to be concerned with that. They do have the other weapons. I still see Matty Ice having a solid...
He should have a really good year. I just don't think he'll duplicate last year. Similar to Mahomes.
The only concerning part is seeing the uptick in sacks. That's the concerning part because... Yeah. But I know they had a lot of injuries last year, so on that line. So
that's an issue.
It's an issue if they can't protect him, but... They also didn't have the greatest run game in the world either.
It was not good at all.
Exactly.
They had to throw.
So let's see if the run game, with Devontae back, I think it'll open
That's why I think it'll be a little bit different because I think that they will be able to run the ball more effectively.
I mean, for a team with no run game, basically, he threw for a hair under 5,000. He threw for 35 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions.
And that's great. And he's not a big interception thrower. I think early on in his career,
he was in his early career.
But the last few years, he's been okay. So moving on to number 8 is Drew Brees, expert consensus ranking. I also have Brees at 8. And John, you got to put the crack pipe down, bro. You got him at number 2. What is that all about?
Oh, did I rank him that high?
You did, yeah.
A little early, I guess. It's Drew Brees. I hate to say it, but Drew Brees.
Yeah.
maybe I'll rank them as a little too nice to him. I'm not gonna lie.
He's a nice guy.
It's Drew Brees.
Yeah.
If we
were ranking nicest quarterbacks, he'd probably be at number 2.
Yeah, but it's not even nicest quarterback. The guy has the all-time passing yard record now.
Yeah.
He's shattering records, and here's the thing.
Yeah.
He's in his prime. I don't care what anybody says. He's old.
I mean, if he's taking the same stuff that Brady's taken, then yeah, he's definitely in his prime.
I mean, last year, if you look at his numbers, was his worst year in almost...
no, it had to be the year before.
No. I'm not saying... No, what I mean worst year as in yardage.
Yeah.
He had less than 4,000
But touchdowns-wise, it wasn't.
But his efficiency was amazing.
Yeah.
A completion percentage almost 75%. That is unheard
But don't you
of.
think that's because it's all to Kamara and Thomas, who aren't that far down the field?
It is and it isn't. He only had 5 interceptions.
Yeah.
So he's making less mistakes. He's managing the game more. I will say that. No more, 400-yard sling games, which does hurt his value a little bit.
But if you look at last year, like he actually started really hot last year, if I recall, but then they started running the ball more. And that was the problem the year before. They were running, they're much like New England are shifting toward a run-first approach. Or that short dink and dunk passing approach, which doesn't negatively affect him.
But he's still going to put you up with 20 to 30 points easily.
I mean,
That's the thing. They protected him so well last year. 17 sacks. That's amazing.
That is great. And he went up in his touchdowns. I think he had 22 the year before, which is just when you're drafting a guy like Drew Brees as high as he goes is unacceptable. But he went up to 32 touchdowns plus 4 rushing touchdowns.
So let's say
about 4,000 yards.
Even if his ceiling this year is 30 touchdowns, you're still going to get 30. But if he's making less mistakes, you're getting less points thrown out the door.
But you're right. His 2017 season was a meltdown, and he actually threw for less yards last year than his 2017 season.
Odd about it. It's just he's playing more efficient.
And 32 is about near his career average for touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, he's got those 40 touchdowns years. But remember, those are your years that they didn't have the run game they do now.
But he didn't average. He averaged about 32. And he's got an upgrade at tight end. I mean, we're not high on Cook, but it's an upgrade.
It helps.
He's, consistent and reliable. You know what I mean? And just much like Breeze. Much like Breeze is consistent and reliable. And,
I mean, he's got Humpty, receiver.
Right, yeah.
Pronounced with the Humpty.
Yeah. Wait, who?
Michael Thomas. He looks like the guy from Digital Underground.
I guess a little bit.
Humpty.
I guess I never caught that one.
Watch the pictures, you'll see.
So number 2, a little bit high for my liking for Breeze. Febreze. Oh, that might be a good nickname for him. Does he smell good? Sorry, but we want to move on because we're kicking it up a notch in the time frame here. So number 9 expert consensus ranking is Cam Newton, the Camazon. And I have Cam at number 10, and you also have him at number 10.
Yeah, I see. Cam has the talent to be a top 5 quarterback. We know that.
He was phenomenal last year while he was healthy, for the record.
I have not heard much in regards to his shoulder injury and how his mechanics are. That's a concern.
And that's a concern, definitely.
Another concern is their offensive line. He took a lot of shots. I mean, a lot of shots.
Yeah. They did, I think, make some improvements. And if you asked me to throw names out there, I couldn't. But they did address it.
They did make improvements. He does have.
They got rid of Matt Khalil, right? That's an improvement right there.
He does have somewhat easy schedule. I mean, having McCaffrey at his disposal does help him. But here's the thing I noticed last year. I think he was hurt early on and did not admit to it. And I really think it messed up.
But he was great early on. I mean, he was on.
No,
so I was going for the Roto Championship in our league. And he was what was keeping my main competition in the hunt because he was doing so well early on. So Cam played great last year, but then his shoulder started falling off. And, but I think, like, if you look at this year, man, I mean, I think Funchess is a good complementary piece, but if he's your number 1 receiver, that's a liability. I think you're going to see DJ Moore improve dramatically. Curtis Samuel does not get the credit he should for being as good of a wide receiver as he is.
They haven't even tapped into his resources.
Not even close. And, of course, you got McCaffrey as well. And Greg Olsen. Let's give Greg Olsen some credit. He's definitely going to be a red zone threat for them and for Cam. So I think his offense is going to be better this year. My concern is Norv Turner going to think progressively enough to get creative with that offense? But he did more with McCaffrey last year than I thought he would. And a lot of those were passes from Cam Newton. So...
Biggest thing with Cam, though, I think about week 9, he started. He just wasn't getting protected.
Yeah.
He was taking lickings, and as you looked at his sacks as they went up week 8 on.
By the way, about 500 rushing yards last year.
No. But here's the thing: those shots started getting into him. Because week 8 on, I believe. No, week 9. I'm sorry, week 9. After week 9, the sacks go up, but so does his interceptions.
Yep.
So did that injury?
Because he's forcing the ball out. Yeah.
Did that injury deep down affect him? I think it did.
No doubt about it.
I think he got.
Is it going to affect him this year? That's the concern. That's the concern we had with Luck last year.
Physically, I don't think it will be. I think it's going to be a mental game with him this year.
But remember,
that's my opinion.
But remember, 2 years ago, John, Andrew Luck had a similar shoulder injury, and guess what? We kept not hearing things out of camp. We kept not hearing things out of OTA, and all of a sudden, he's out for the year. So Cam scares me a little bit this year. And if he's on the field, and I think he's going to be, and again, we're not projecting that he's going to be hurt.
He's not someone I'm reaching for, and he's not going to be my number 1.
But I think he's also going to land in a fairly decent spot where you can get him without having to break the bank and really get a good quarterback.
I think this is the year you can get him cheap.
Yeah.
But for his upside.
Yep.
But you better pray for that upside to be there because there's a lot of concerns.
But his upside is the number 1 overall quarterback, which he's been in the past. So.
He was MVP.
Yeah. So
yeah,
similar to Ryan, he's got a really good upside, but let's see if he gets there. So number 11, expert consensus ranking is I'm at 10. My bad. Number 10 is Jameis Winston for ECR. Winston, I have at 11. And you have him at 11 as well.
If Winston can put it together, the kid's going to be amazing. He has the talent.
How many games did Fitzpatrick play? That definitely affected his numbers.
Off the top of my head.
Well, I do have a 16-game pace. So he had last year 2,992 yards passing, 19 touchdowns passing, 283 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. But that's a 16-game pace of 4,352 yards. 27 touchdowns, 411 rushing yards. So that's a pretty good stat line right there. And that's with Turd Cutter and his inept offense. I think obviously Bruce Arians should dramatically improve Winston's game and help him as a player and a quarterback and maybe even a leader. And I think honestly a lack of a good rushing game, which we've talked about before, I don't think they're going to have a good rushing game. And that's going to do what it did for, who are we talking about that had to chuck the ball a lot last year? Matt Ryan. So similar to what it did for Matt Ryan last year, I think it's going to do for Winston as well. And I think it's going to be a pass-heavy offense. And he's got great weapons.
But here's a thing that nobody's looking at as underlying stats. I'm high on Winston this year, and I'll tell you why. Because here's a few things that people aren't.
I like him too.
He only played 11 games last year. Granted, yes.
Yep.
The Conor McGregor, Ryan Fitzpatrick era happened.
That was pretty fun.
But here's the thing. Yes, his overall numbers, if you look at it, were down.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You got to look at the underlying stats. Last year was his best year in completion percentage.
Yep.
About 65%.
Which that's not, if you're grading on a curve, that's good, but I don't think his completion rating percentage prior to that was any good.
No, but if you notice that he's moved
He's
up,
progressing, yeah.
He's progressing. That's what you like to see from a quarterback.
And that, to me, is progressing on his own, because Turd Cutter wasn't pushing that along.
That's my point I'm trying to make. So
right.
If you have these underlying things you're seeing, like his his completion percentage going up, and I mean tremendously, almost like 7 points from his 7% points from his rookie year. Now his QB rating has jumped up, not like a stellar as much as completion percentage, but it has gotten better. Yeah. I'm not even looking at yards.
Right.
I'm just looking at his percentage. He's making better decisions, I think. So deep down, he actually got sacked a lot less last year. So I'm hoping I see progression this year. I think he has high upside, and for where he's going, I think you can get him cheap.
Yeah, and I mean, look at his receivers. He's got O.J. Howard, Chris Godwin,
and he does
Mike Evans.
Does not have a hard strength of schedule.
No. I think the rushing game is going to be a handicap for the team, but I think it's just going to make Jameis have to throw more.
Favorite running backs there too.
I don't like either of them, but
I was waiting for the nickname.
Mac and cheese. I think Chef Barber D might not actually be that bad. I think we're going to roll with that.
It's got a better ring to it.
Yeah, and then my favorite running back that's small that doesn't catch passes, Ronald Jones. So not seeing a lot from the running game there, but hopefully they prove me wrong.
What do we got next?
So number 11, expert consensus rank is Carson Wentz. I actually have Wentz at 9. And you have him...
11?
No.
No?
You have him out of the top 12.
I think he's still in England visiting.
I guess so. I like Carson Wentz a lot this year. Not the greatest year last year, but again, he got hurt. 3,074 yards passing, 21 passing touchdowns. That was only in 11 games, though. So his 16-game pace, John, would have been about 4,500 yards passing and 30 touchdowns, which would be pretty good. The one little caveat here, and I've kind of touched on it before, I really like the ad of Deshaun Jackson. If you look at his numbers with the quarterbacks that he's played with in the past, if you look at their efficiency numbers, they're exponentially better when Deshaun Jackson's on the field because he adds that
he stretches the field.
Field stretcher element, and he's effective at it. So
you have to respect it.
He changes the dynamic when he's out there. And the quarterbacks that he's played with, their best QB ratings are when Deshaun Jackson is out there on the field. So I think that's something that I don't think people look at Deshaun Jackson as a game changer, but guys that play with him and play against him say he's as fast as he ever was.
I think the reason why nobody's really sold on Carson Wentz, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic. He had one good season. The other two.
But look at what would have been a 16-game pace.
No, his 16-game pace is through the roof.
That's another great season.
I think in the back of everybody's mind is injury. I mean, I hate to say that and throw that out there, and you got to do the what if, but he's developing that, what's the word, reputation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing is, he's like fragile.
Yeah, and I don't think that's necessarily true. I think his injuries have been freak injuries, so they're not like soft tissue injuries or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, number-wise, he passed for over 3,000 yards, basically a 70% completion
in 11
percentage.
games.
In 11 games, yeah. So you're talking he would have probably have easily amassed, I would say, at least, even if I throw this out there, 4,500 yards, probably easily 30 touchdowns.
And his artillery, his arsenal is incredible. It's Alshon Jeffrey, it's Nelson Aguilar, it's Arcega Whiteside. What's that?
Did you get Zach Ertz?
There's more. Zach Ertz. Miles Sanders is a huge upgrade at running back. And let's not forget Jordan Howard's there too. So, I mean, I might have missed somebody else, but that's
Goddard.
Dallas Goedert is another one. I mean, if Zach Ertz goes out, that dude slides right in and he doesn't miss a beat. So, and then let's not forget, it's a well-coached, high-powered offense. Carson Wentz I like a lot this year, and you're getting him for next to nothing. That's why I've got him ranked upwards of 9. You don't have him ranked, but I get where you're coming from with that. I think injuries are scaring you more with guys I try to just assume that won't happen.
When I make my decisions on drafting people, injuries play a lot into my choices because there's nothing worse than picking a guy that gets hurt again, because I have had so many teams I've been decimated with the injury, and trying to work the waiver wire or fab, doing that is very, very hard.
Yeah.
So you want to pick guys that are consistently healthy too.
Or you just stream.
You stream, but here's the thing. Freak accidents happen. There's nothing you can do about a freak accident. Zach Miller for Chicago, no one knew his leg was going to move like that. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers breaking his collarbone, but happens though.
Right.
But that's the thing. You can't base your decision completely on that, but it does make me a little skeptical.
Yeah. So moving on to number 12, this is funny. Jared Goff. No, sorry, I'm not buying into that. And you and I went in different directions. And we got to talk about Kirk Cousins after too. But I actually had Ben Roth. We'll talk about him now. So Jared Goff, number 12. Your thoughts on him? I mean, I can tell you that he regressed last year.
If you want Jared Goff, this is when I would play Jared Goff at home. That's it. Period.
That's it. He's a streamer. He's a streaming quarterback. He's not
at home.
Yep.
At home. Here's the thing. You want to, if for those of you who play defense, if Jared Goff plays in the cold, take that defense.
Yeah.
I'm not even.
You're still calling him Jared Goff.
Golf.
Should he be playing golf?
He should be. He's a pretty boy to me. He does not play well on the road.
Yeah.
He's better at home, and in cold weather, he gets crippled.
Jared Goff, I watched a beautiful game between Kansas City and LA on Monday night.
What, the 100-point game?
And I think he got it all out of his system there because he was trash for the rest of the season. Coincidentally, though, it kind of did line up when Cooper Kupp went out of the lineup. So I think having Cooper Kupp back will help. But again, what have I told you before? When I look at guys, especially if they're going to be my only quarterback, I ask myself, have they ever sucked before? And Jared Goff has been Goffle on more than one occasion. Not in my top 12. Sorry. But who is in my top 12? I had Ben Roethlisberger at 12. Just real quick, and you with Phillip Rivers, you had Phillip Rivers at 12. Steady Eddies, man. Like, I know what I'm getting out of Ben Roethlisberger. I know Antonio Brown's gone, but I really think James Washington, it sounds like reports are that he's starting to click really well and really come along. I think Juju, I talked about Jarvis Landry being the best slot receiver in the game. I was wrong. Juju's the best slot receiver in the game. He's a big slot receiver. Sounds like they're going to keep him in that same role. And then, of course, they picked up Dante Moncrief as well, who probably isn't really a game changer, but they got a good running game with James Conner. I think you're just going to see the steady Eddie Ben Roethlisberger numbers. Not going to blow you away, but not going to kill your lineup either. And you had Rivers at 12.
And Rivers is always consistent. He'll have your implosion game. Same with Ben. But the thing about Phillip Rivers, consistent-wise, you look at his stats through the years, and his strength of schedule is right in the middle of the pack, which always usually is. But the guy has been high 20s or low 30s for touchdowns every year, passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
And his interceptions, he's had two, I could say, bad years of interceptions. And I mean bad, like high teens, low 20s, just twice.
Yeah.
Other than that, you're talking minimum 28 touchdowns, low 30s. If they put everything together, you're talking Phillip Rivers 35 touchdowns if they put it all together.
These guys, Ben and Rivers, they're friends with benefits. The old standby you can always go back to. You know what I'm saying?
If you draft Phillip Rivers, you'll have an extra person on your team because he'll probably have another kid too.
You might, yeah. But just on the Ben thing real quick, I want to bounce back to Roethlisberger with Brown being gone. I think there's a dynamic that you need to look at in terms of when guys like Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham leave teams. They're also taking the baggage and the distractions with them too. So I think that's something that I really think Pittsburgh's going to be fine in terms of offense, and I think that's one of the reasons why. Do you think that is something that factors into play?
Oh, it definitely plays, especially with the emotional game that Antonio Brown was playing. I remember when Antonio Brown first came in the league, you didn't hear a peep from him, ran his routes, was like a third wide receiver. Hines Ward was really big back then. Santonio Holmes, he kind of wormed his way, I shouldn't say wormed his way in, he earned his way in.
Like Dennis Rodman.
But what people forget is, yeah, Brown himself contributed, but Big Ben was there before Brown was.
Big Ben and that team have made
Antonio Brown better.
Great receivers.
Yes.
Ward was already great, but like you said, Santonio Holmes was never the same after he left.
But
Pittsburgh.
Brown said he made Ben. No. I go by
Ben was a champion before Brown ever came along.
Big Ben actually helped Brown, I think.
I think you're right, yeah.
Can you imagine if Antonio Brown spent it in a system where the quarterback, like, let's say the Browns before Mayfield, all those years, who would be Antonio Brown right now? Yeah. That's my opinion.
He hyper-targeted Brown, 180 targets plus. So, but we'll talk about that in the wide receiver portions of the shows here. So really, just the last guy I want to talk about is a guy that you have ranked at number 8, who I did not have ranked, but I don't dislike him, and ECR didn't have him ranked in the top 12 either, Kirk Cousins.
Okay, Kirk Cousins. This is why I'm high on the guy. Take last year, okay? They made some improvements. You're talking they got Irv Smith, another tight end.
Yep.
You do forget, another tight end.
And Kyle Rudolph, who's either getting cut, traded, or a 5-year extension.
Yeah, let's say
depending on who you ask.
Let's say he stays. Okay, guys?
Yeah. He's really handsome, too, isn't he, Kirk Cousins? Look at those dreamy eyes.
Yes, look at him. He's like he's like a poster boy. Okay. Yeah. So good thing, one reason why I liked Cousins that attracted me, very easy schedule. 10th easiest schedule. But do we forget that last year that Kirk Cousins did not have the most stellar running game?
No, because Cook was hurt.
Murray was up and down.
Murray's a good backup, though.
I'm not bashing Murray. Murray actually did his job. But here's the thing: teams will have more respect for a more deadly running back when they didn't establish that.
And the kid they drafted too is pretty talented, and his name's escaping me as well. But they drafted a running back this year that looks to be a good, solid backup.
So
that
here's
is
the thing.
Multifaceted.
Kirk Cousins threw 30 touchdowns last year, guys. A lot of people did not see that. 30 touchdowns. He had 10 interceptions. That's not a horrible year. That's not even without a stellar run game. If Dalvin Cook plays to even the lowest of his potential, which we started seeing at the end of last year, what does that do, guys? It opens up the run game.
Yep.
I'm not the run game. The run game will open up the pass game. We saw what Diggs and Thielen can do. Now you start throwing Cook. If Cook plays to his potential,
Mike Boone is the guy's name.
then he catches passes out of the backfield.
They also have Amir Abdullah.
Diggs' numbers will go up. Thielen's numbers. I mean, they had good seasons.
All ships rise with the tide.
Yes, exactly. So why? That's one reason I have Cousins so high.
So yeah,
I think
I agree with you.
Yes, I think he's going to improve.
Yep.
We see numbers and like, oh, he didn't do that great last year, but you start looking at it.
Yeah. What was his sack numbers last year?
That's where he took a hit. But they did draft an offensive lineman, I believe.
They did actually try to beef up the line.
And then Irv Smith is their tight end.
He's a good blocker too.
He's a good blocker
He's actually
too.
a good all-around tight end.
They could run more two double tight end sets, which is only going to help.
I like Kirk Cousins. I really do.
He actually took just as many sacks last year as he did in Washington as last year.
Yeah.
40 sacks.
And people need to remember that dude supported really top 10 seasons for both Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen.
Yeah, and here's another kicker too. Last year, best year yet in completion percentage, 70%. Yeah.
I like Cousins this year, and he's going to be dirt cheap. So I get you're ranking him in the top 12. I think he might be a little bit high at 8, but that's your prerogative, man. We all have different opinions.
Look what Thielen and Figs did.
Thielen? Oh, my God. That's a good one.
Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs.
I love Stephon Diggs.
And now you add in Cook, a healthy Cook.
I like Cook a lot too, man. I was beaten down.
Then you add in an offensive lineman. You add in Irv Smith. I don't even care if Rudolph's there or not. This team is going to succeed.
Is Ish Smith going to be there?
Maybe.
But in all seriousness, I was
Smith the second.
The guy that has Dalvin Cook in our keeper league. I was beating that guy. I'm hanging around you too much. That guy's door, like the SWAT team trying to get Dalvin Cook off him, and he was just having no part of it. And I don't blame him because I think he could be a top 5 running back.
To me, Dalvin Cook played at FSU, and if anybody who ever follows college football, Dalvin Cook reminds me of a jacked up Warrick Dunn.
Yeah.
And we knew
Warrick Dunn was great.
Warrick Dunn was great. And that's
awesome.
the thing. Honestly, I think they're going to have... His numbers don't even reflect. I think he's going to have a much better year than what his numbers suggested last year. And with 30 passing touchdowns, and what did he have for rushing? He had 1 rushing.
Yeah.
So his normal number is about 4 or 5, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So if he throws for 35 and rushes for his average of 4 or 5,
I'm with you on him.
40 touchdowns from Cousins.
Yep. I think Cousins, Wentz, guys like that are going to go in those value areas that are going to really help you. Like, when you get a guy that late at quarterback, that means you're just stacking up on running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. And we were going a little bit long again. But again, like I told you guys last week,
it's hard not to when you love football.
We want this to be organic, man. So just digest this stuff over 2 or 3 car rides to work. I have a pretty lengthy one. Mine's about 40 minutes. So
I got about 20 minutes.
Yeah, well, so for you, it's a few. Think about it in terms of car rides or visits to the gym. Go to the gym, pop us on, and hopefully we can help you win some championships, because that's what this is all about. Listen to what we're saying, guys, because we've been there, and what we think and the strategies that we use and the approach that we take is proven championship winning advice. I can assure you, right, John?
Exactly. And not to mention, hey, hit us up. Join the listener league.
Yeah, man, we want to hear from more of you guys.
He challenged us. Let's go.
What's up with you, dude? He's afraid. It's just fear.
You know, the sad part is I look forward to the draft. I love drafting. I can do like 87 mock drafts.
Yeah.
I can draft now, draft tomorrow. Love mock drafting.
I promise you guys might stand a fighting chance against us. You just might. And we'll have a lot of fun at the same time. And if you do beat us, we're going to give you some free swag. So just to throw it out there, guys, we do have T-shirts being made as we speak. We're going to put those up on eBay, so we'll let you know when those are out. They're nice powder blue T-shirts with the logo. So,
is it like that LA Chargers powder blue?
It's actually the athletic. The athletic like this.
The Gildan shirts.
Yeah, kind of like that. So it's
nice soft cotton.
Those nice soft,
so
kind of nylon feeling athletic shirts.
So it's like a pre-shrunk cotton. It's actually nice.
It's not even cotton. It's like a nylon type of fabric.
Oh,
yeah.
I no, kind of like an Under Armour one.
Yeah, it's like an Under Armour one. Yeah, so I think you guys will like those. And if you do, then we'll make some more. And if you don't, then I'll just save them in my closet. I'll do those vacuum bag things and store them away for a while. But hopefully you guys will like them. They'll be about $25 a piece. So
be a time capsule 20 years from now, like 100 of them in his closet.
Yeah, man. Also, real quick, like I said, I just want to keep talking about August 18th will be the live draft episode where we're probably going to have to break that up into 2 episodes. But we will be live, not live, but our faces will be live on camera for that.
You know what I think is going to be great about that, too? We're going to be sitting at the helm here while everybody else sits in those other seats.
Yeah, well, and we're going to let guys, we're here in the war room right now. We record from the war room, our draft room every year. And we'll have guys, I think every round we'll have one, because it's 12 team and it's 12 rounds because it's after keepers. So I think every round we'll bring a guy up here to kind of sit with us and talk and kind of talk about their strategy and how their draft is going and stuff like that. So
I think you guys will enjoy it. I mean, it's
gonna. I'm really excited for that. I'm excited for more rankings episodes. I mean, we're gonna sign off here so we don't take too much time up for you, but we appreciate you listening. And we got people saying, "When's the next pod? When's the next pod?" And that that's so exciting, and it's really cool to hear. So help us grow that audience so we can keep doing this. And we really appreciate your patronage. So. For John, I'm DJ. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. Thanks for supporting the show. Until next time.